Eris here. Welcome. In today's Let's Share video, I'll be sharing you my impressions, my experience being in Auckland, why I decided to take a trip to a really far country, and all the things I pretty much did there. So yes, I did take a trip to Auckland, New Zealand, which was the first solo trip I did in my life. And that was pretty much like a year and 2 months ago, actually, like June 2019. That was the best trip I ever had. True. So yeah, plainly and bluntly, I took the trip for various of reasons. I just moved to Belgium that time, and of course it took me a while to be able to get to Belgium. It took me 3 years. 3. And that's because I had to like save a lot, I had to prepare a lot of paperwork, and also because I had to wait for my mom and sister to be able to travel as well, because I wasn't gonna come alone, but they were going to leave without me because I'll be the one living in Belgium, of course. And yeah, my sister had to finish school first, of course, and we went to Belgium like in the summertime of Philippines, which is April, May, and they stayed 7 weeks. So of course, when I got to Belgium, I felt very proud of myself. I felt like I really achieved something great. I was able to like start living on my own, do everything on my own, and actually wanted that also for 3 years already, or 3 or 4 years. Yeah, ever since I was 18 or 17. And it was just so exciting to like do everything by yourself and try to be really independent, because for me that was a big thing. And yeah, the best trip I've ever had. So okay, cut the chase. So actually my dad did leave my sister and I a certain amount of savings, and I did not know about that actually until we went to the bank and had a talk with that person that attended to us. And I actually thought this brilliant yet devious plan in my head, and I shared to my sister. But I only thought of this like 2 weeks before the 7 weeks were up, so 5 weeks into being in Belgium with them, I thought of this. So I felt adventurous that time, first time being able to get out. Who wouldn't do this? Yeah, I decided, oh wait, before we get to that, I still remember the day that we got our tickets booked with Cathay Pacific to get from Philippines to Belgium. Cathay Pacific actually has the same price for a one-way ticket as for a return. So I was booked a return ticket. So I was actually technically able to go back to Philippines for free if I wanted to, and that's what happened. Yeah, so being in Belgium for 5 weeks, I actually informed my sister that I really wanted to like take this trip to like say I feel proud of myself, I feel achieved. I feel like I achieved something great being able to move to another country that I don't know much about, because I only lived there when I was a child, and being an adult in Belgium is different than being a child, obviously. And so yeah, that was pretty much like a thank you gift to myself, I think. Yeah, the trip was. And I told my sister that I felt like going back with them to Philippines, and the trip from Manila to the city I was living in. There was no plane ticket for that, so I still had to pay for that, but that was also arranged. And actually, I told my mom like the day before we were supposed to leave is when I told her the plan, because we were staying with just family friends for 7 weeks because I didn't have a place, and of course too expensive to stay for 7 weeks in Belgium in a hotel. Most hotels are like 100 euro, or like to have your own room for at least 2 or 3 people. Yeah. And it was just really hard to hide it from her because there were always things I had to say differently or to like temporarily lie about, because the people we were staying with were going to like leave for Miami also on a vacation 2 days before my family and I were supposed to go back to Philippines, and I didn't really want them to know because I'm sure they will tell my mom about it and it's not their secret to tell. I don't want to be mean, but that's a Filipino thing. And yeah, they were Filipino, or one of them. But yeah, they will always tell things that aren't yours to tell because they're not about you, you know? So respect my privacy. But everybody's business is their business. That's the thing in Philippines. Okay. Well, you get used to that. And you just learn to roll with it. Yeah. Okay, so 2 days before we left, I told my mom finally. On the date before we left, I told my mom about this because another family friend that was gonna like pick us up for the airport had like come by to like, you know, get our luggage and everything sorted, and to also help transfer some stuff from that house to my apartment because I was able to get that apartment 2 weeks before we left. Luckily, I was able to put all my stuff there. And when she asked the question, when are we going to bring your luggage, you know? And I was like, okay, I can't hide this anymore. I need to keep this luggage because I feel like I want to travel. And so I told them the plan, and my mom was hysterical because she usually overreacts, or let's just say gets over worried about many things. She's like, you don't know how to fly in a plane. Yeah, that's what she said. You don't know how to do this and do that. You don't even have your ticket going to Cebu. No, not Cebu. Cebu Pacific. You don't have a ticket to get from Manila to the city we're going to be in. Yeah. So that was pretty much how it went. And later on, like a few hours after, 3 other friends came by, and then word spilled out pretty fast, and yeah, I didn't mind, and they're on my side. So yeah, they tried to really convince my mom that everything was going to be okay and that I was an adult, and yeah, I can do it, and actually I was able to. So everything turned out really well, and the day came that I was going to leave Belgium for 2 weeks, and so we went to our flights, and it was actually really fun. Going back to Philippines was funner than from Philippines to Belgium by plane. I mean, like, it's just the time difference and the way you feel. Like, having a short flight, a medium length flight, and then a really long one makes such a difference than when it's the other way around. Like, it really does. Like, you actually have enough energy if you take a really long flight than 2 shorter ones. Mm. So yeah, when we finally arrived in the Philippines, it was kind of like, yeah, fun. Like, oh my god, I'm here again. I didn't thought I would be. Even when I jumped out of the car when we arrived home, my uncle was like, oh my god, you're here. Then yeah, he found out what was gonna happen. Um, wait, I actually did not tell my mom that I was gonna go to New Zealand. I just told her that I was going to stay in the Philippines for 6 more days and then leave. I just didn't feel like telling her about New Zealand because she's always going to like sort of nag about the money part when that was already taken care of, you know. And it was pretty much just a flight I was paying and maybe just like a little pocket money. Maybe, yeah, I had pocket money. And the accommodation was going to be fine because I was going to stay with a really great friend of mine that moved to New Zealand when I was 18, I think. I actually met her in high school in the Philippines. I was 14, so I was in my second year and she was in the first, and we became friends just like that. That was like so amazing. Um, yeah, we just got together through someone else and we just started talking. Then she joined in, I think, and we just clicked just like that, and we just started talking, all of that. So yeah, we hung out every day. And when I became a college student and was in my second year, I obviously made my other best friend get introduced to her. And of course, they clicked directly as well. And the three of us hung out maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, we hung out on my birthday, another time, uh, maybe in the mall, I'm not sure. And the last time was, of course, when the three of us found out that she was gonna leave for Auckland on that day. Yeah. Oh well. At least we were given like 2 or 3 hours still together, and we just ended up going to a cafe having cake and tea. Yeah, my sister came along that day actually. So yeah, she was gonna move to New Zealand, and in my head I was like really happy thinking that I could go to New Zealand right after being in Philippines for 6 days, when I was still thinking of which place to travel to after Philippines as a thank you gift to myself. And I do not regret that choice at all. Like, I totally loved it. Yeah, so after being in PH for 6 days, the sad reality sort of started to sink in that I'm really going to say goodbye this time to everybody. I was only able to see my best friend that still is in Philippines for like half a day on the day before I left, because she was also in her hometown, you know, and I wasn't going to see my dogs for a long time. So yeah, reality started to sink in, and there that feeling was kind of like really bad, where I didn't really feel that excited for New Zealand anymore. But everything went well, obviously. And of course, I hopped on my flight. It was a really early flight, like 6 in the morning, because somebody messed the flight up for me. I told that person to book 9 a.m. and he booked 6. That was actually the second time he messed up that flight, because I tried I tried to make that person do it for me before, because that person offered. Yeah, whatever. The flight was 6 a.m. and it was bound for Cebu, and the amount of uh, transit time, yeah, it was from Cebu and it would take me to Hong Kong, and it was like 6 hours. That was really bad. So I had to sit down at a cafe for like 6 hours, sort of, you know. And then from Hong Kong, it was supposed to bring me to Auckland, and I think that was 9 hours, but it ended up being earlier. That usually happens actually, and I also ended up getting Cathay Pacific because I really love that airline, next to Thai Airways. And uh, what I remember is that people were really nice on the flights. You know, there was a person sitting uh, on the other seat in my row. Like, I was at the window seat and that person was at the aisle seat. And then we had like a really good conversation, and he said he was going to Sydney and I was going to Auckland, first time alone. And being in Hong Kong airport was kind of fun because I was there twice already, going to Belgium and going back to Philippines. And my transit time there was only 4 hours. But yeah, it's still kind of long when you're there, instead of thinking, oh, it's just 4 hours, that will fly by quickly. So yeah, when the 4 hours finally passed, I was able to get into my flight, and that was a 9-hour flight, they said. And I was in the middle seat, kind of annoying. And at that time, I was still a bit sick, because I don't know, I decided to like bike with just a long sleeve in Belgium, and just because it's sunny doesn't mean it's warm. But yeah, I got sick in Belgium like 3 weeks before we left, and here and there I would get this really itching cough out of nowhere, so I had to take like one of those strepsils pills. I also had to like fill in this form, like to declare I don't have food, I don't have boots with me. Not a boots kind of person. You know, like boots that have been used and that have residue on them. I didn't bring any fruit either, and that was also something you had to declare on that paper, or on the waiver, I think. Yeah, and I just had to ask help from my seatmate about that question, because I actually had cookies with me from a relay in Hong Kong, and I was like, this is food as well. What kind of food are they talking about? That stuff. Yeah, I was cleared. So when we finally started descending, it was like so fun to see, but it was kind of cloudy and gray, but I could see some stuff like really far away. I could actually see the North Tower. Like, it was really, really far, but I could see it. And once we started getting lower, I was able to like see much more like farmlands and sheep. That was so cute. And also here and there houses. There was a lot of space in between the houses. And when we finally landed, I was like, oh my god, I'm actually here. Can't believe that. Can't wait to like really experience Auckland. And I stayed for 6 days as well, because I actually had a deadline in Belgium on the 14th. On the 14th of June, I had like as a visitor come that is supposed to like declare that I'm living there since my address was changed, something like that. So I had to be back on time, unfortunately, and my best friend in New Zealand had school, so I didn't feel that bad. So yeah, when I finally landed and got out of the plane and passed by the security, the border patrol, I think, she asked me a lot of intimidating questions, and I was kind of nervous if she won't let me in. She was asking me why I was gonna travel to Auckland, and I was like, well, I want to meet up with a friend I met in high school. And she was like, okay, who's this friend? Where did you meet? Where does she live? And I was like, oh my god, I forgot where she lived. It's just the places in New Zealand have like these unique names, and I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, she let me in. So that was fun. And yeah, I went to the baggage area and was able to find my stuff. And I was also finally able to like connect to the Wi-Fi. And I, of course, contacted my really good friend that I finally arrived. And we were both so excited. And then I did a currency exchange here and there. Then I went to the bathroom waiting, because she ended up telling me that she wasn't on her way yet. And it took like 20 minutes to get from her home to the airport. But I was fine with it. And after I did all my stuff, she was already on her way with her father. And I just waited at the entrance area. And it's like looking at everything. There's a nice statue. And all at once I hear like running. That was like so cute. And then there she was, like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm seeing you again. So yeah, that was really great.